On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl recap the MLB trade deadline news, amongst many other big, shocking deals. We're also joined by Cardinal starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery, and what might be the most legendary interview ever conducted by Starting Nine. Let's have a great show. Let's get into it, boys. Action! Welcome back to Starting Nine. I got two hot dudes on my screen in front of me, Colin Cooper in New York City, and obviously Jake Arrieta's Steam Sauna. You look great, Jake. As always, reactions to yesterday. How you feeling?
Yeah, well, we did the Jordan Montgomery interview. I'm feeling great, by the way. And we're just talking before the show started. Wish that would have transpired, the trade would have transpired during the podcast. That would have just been really, really cool. And we talked about there was a moment where you saw him kind of look up, and you might have thought he got the nod of potentially getting the trade. Whether that happened or not, we don't know. We can reach out to him. But I think that he fits extremely well in a St. Louis Cardinals uniform. And it's kind of it's a big league trade. You know, hey, like you said, we need an outfielder. We need a starting pitcher. Boom. There it is.
Right. And the way that comes together is different than a lot of these trades where prospects this and that, superstar, what does it mean over the next 5, 6, 7 years? The Montgomery Bader trade is just like, we need a little help here, you need a little help there. Let's just get a deal done, and this is good for both parties. So we do the interview with Monty. We're gonna run that in a little bit, and it's a cool conversation because it's a lot about the Yankees too. So if you're a Cardinals fan, you'll like it because you get to know a new player to your team. If you're a Yankees fan, you get to look inside their clubhouse and stuff. And it is just kind of funny how much we hammered his experience as a Yankee. You're a career Yankee. And, like, we literally get off the phone in the news like, Jordan Montgomery to the Cardinals. Like, fuck.
Yeah, drafted by the Yankees, has been a Yankee. We talked about his experiences and his time spent around CC Sabathia and text from Andy Pettit, and how like the torch was passed from Andy to CC to him. You know, it's kind of sad in a way, you know, because obviously, you know, when you're raised and developed in that farm system and you're a Yankee, it's got to be tough to leave that uniform, but you're leaving one, you know, historic uniform for another. And I think that, you know, just judging by our short experience with him, I think that he'll fit very well in that clubhouse, and he'll enjoy being a St. Louis Cardinal.
As much as one can enjoy being a St. Louis Cardinal, I will never turn down that opportunity. Let's get to Juan Soto. I thought he was going to be a St. Louis Cardinal. You said Padres. I'm not like, it wasn't like you were like, I guarantee he's going to the Padres.
Yeah,
like,
I would never say that because that's,
like the Padres. Here's why it fits.
Yeah, it's just when you do the guarantee stuff, then you kind of look like a jackass sometimes. Not that if it works out right, like you feel great about it, you know, you can kind of beat your chest a little bit. I just felt like it was finally time for the Padres to make a statement to the NL West and to the Dodgers specifically, and historically to the San Francisco Giants, based on what they've been able to do in that division in the last decade. But it's like, hey, man, we're ready to be that team. We're ready to be a team like the Dodgers and truly compete, and stop watching them win the division year after year after year. And that makes a statement like none other. And then you get, I'm not sure when Tatis is going to be back in that lineup, but that's basically like getting a player at the trade deadline. That's kind of what it seems like. You know, you can slide Soto in there. You slide in, Hader at the back end of your bullpen, and then what better gift could you get also to have Fernando Tatis Jr. slide into the middle of your lineup also. So it's very exciting, and we've got some really cool, San Diego Juan Soto merch coming out, which I think people will really enjoy.
Good promo, bro.
Yeah, I mean, how cool are those shirts? I don't know. They're live on the site right now. They're ready to go.
That was good collaboration because, like the little behind the scenes, we'll learn how the sausage is made at Starting Nine. We got a good merch team at Barstool Sports. We're collaborative. We got group texts. And it was like, oh, Juan Soto, like we should probably have something for Juan Soto. We don't really do anything for San Diego. I was like, what do I know? When I think of San Diego, what do I think? I was like, I think of Anchorman. and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm Juan Burgundy. I think that might be
Yeah.
the hardest I've laughed at a text message in a
Yeah.
long time.
It's really good, but you're right.
great
You think
shirt.
about Will Ferrell, Ron Burgundy, Anchorman. We threw around some ideas.
What
and
else?
Then I'm like, okay, Juan Burgundy. We got to run with that. That's phenomenal. And then we've got Juan Soto on a surfboard in the Friars dress. I don't know if you call it a dress, but I'm gonna call it a dress. So it's a beautiful shirt. I can't wait to rip the sleeves off and represent it on our show. So good. It's so good. And yeah, like you got to give credit to our sales team, our merch team. They hit us up right away like, hey, what are your ideas? We need to run something for Juan Soto. And just we were rattling shit off. And now it's live in the store.
I'm gonna keep the promo going. Bombs Away won again last night. That's I'm losing track of how many units.
I mean, what are the numbers now?
Honestly, it's probably up 7 or 8 units. And I
If you
say
like
that,
free
I know
money,
it's not less than
guys.
6. Yeah.
If you like free money,
Disclaimer: Jake
pay
doesn't mean that.
attention.
Yeah, just like our legal team listening to this. What's up? It's Carl. You guys just text me about that. You don't have to send me a formal fucking email. Okay. Juan Soto, I'm curious. You don't get mad. Similar circumstances. You walked into the Padres clubhouse about this time last year. Is there anything special about San Diego? Not necessarily the ballpark or like the vibes, ownership. Like any insight you can lend to what Juan Soto and Josh Bell are walking into?
Well, they're walking into a veteran clubhouse. Obviously, they lost Eric Hosmer, who's one of the all-time, great team guys, a good friend of mine. So sad to see him go because he was a big part of that environment. But they made a move, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, he turned down a trade or he vetoed a trade to a couple teams, and that's how he ended up in Boston. I saw a little bit of that. I didn't read all the details. But the vibe there, it's phenomenal. The first day I walked in, guys are playing ping pong. Guys are talking shit to each other, just like you would expect in any major league clubhouse. The entire training staff is welcoming the coaching staff. It's a major league. It's a big league veteran environment, and you've got a lot of superstars in there. You've got some really nice young players. And, when Juan Soto walks in there, he knows they are in an extremely good position to make a phenomenal run in the postseason into October. So the guys in the clubhouse, I know, couldn't be more excited to have a guy like that. I mean, how could you not? I mean, you're getting a championship caliber player at the age of 23, 24 years old. And to see what he's already done in his career. I mean, he's got a ring already. He's led that team deep in the postseason before. Yeah, I mean, you're just ecstatic as a player, as a fan. I mean, San Diego's got to be buzzing right now. When's he? I'm assuming he's going to be in that uniform tonight.
Yeah, I think that like
correct?
you
I mean,
absolutely have
this
to
is
run him out
Wednesday?
there ASAP. Yeah, I mean these games. I think
Yeah,
like
you need him out there.
mathematically you have to run him out there because
And you want him,
50
sure.
something games left. You have him.
And
playing as many
Tatis,
as
I mean,
possible.
Tatis I saw was potentially going to be in the lineup Monday. He wasn't in the lineup last night. I mean, he needs to be out there too if he's right. And they're not going to rush him, but I mean, damn, imagine Fernando Tatis Jr. and Soto kind of season debut in that uniform same night. If they don't sell out,
It's
something's wrong.
annoying if you're a. Yeah, I mean that place gonna be going crazy. Soto jersey's like out of this world. He's gonna be he's like the perfect guy for San Diego too, because to me the San Diego Padres are, as my own personal perspective, nationally they fit as like this the San Diego vibe, the cool, laid back. They're not really an aggressive, flashy. I mean, flashy, yes, but not aggressive to me. Like they're just. And Juan Soto is just like a quiet, calm, steady presence. And I feel like we're going to look back and be like, wow, 10 years later, look at these numbers. And it's just going to come so consistently. Like, that's what I see. Now, at the same time, I say all this, and there's people out there that are going, Juan Soto is going to be a free agent in a little bit, and maybe he's coming to the Mets or the Yankees and the Dodgers and all that stuff. So I'm I'm overly romanticizing this trade, but that's what happens.
But
at
they
the
get
trade
him for 2
deadline.
years. Well, they get him for, they get him for the rest of this season and next year, which is a huge bonus. I mean, it's not, you don't just get to see him in that uniform for a couple months, and whatever happens in the postseason, like it's like rolling the dice. Buck Showalter always said that if you just get into October, then you get to roll the dice, right? Like anything can happen once, and certain teams get hot in October. It's not always the teams that won the division by 10, 12 games. It could be, a wild card team in there that is playing well at the right time. The new trade acquisitions are vibing well with the team and performing at a really high level, and crazy things happen. But like I said, not only do you get to see him for the remainder of this season, and hopefully they play in October and do some nice things, but then you get him next year. It's just it's a beautiful thing. And yeah, you had to give up some nice pieces. You had to give up C.J. Abrams, and you gave up some guys, in the Hader trade. But San Diego has been a team that historically were building, from the bottom up, getting collecting all these prospects, and now they have them. Now they have these huge names in the big leagues. They brought in some great free agents. Now they can unload some of these high profile prospects to get a guy like Juan Soto. So we gave, historically we've given San Diego shit for not making moves and doing this and that. But now look where they're at. 6, 7 years ago, it was like the Padres are, they're just a shitty team in the NL West. Now they're potentially one of the best teams in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're a Mets or a Dodgers fan, or a Braves fan, but mostly Mets or Dodgers fan, this one stings because I looked at the playoff standings or projections, and you're just like, yeah, I can see the Dodgers and the Mets giving us a great NLCS. Not to say that those odds are overly changed now with the Padres. They still have to put the pitching together for it.
Still got to do it.
It's like if that's an NLDS matchup, that's a way worse NLDS matchup.
It changes things. Changes things. We were at football practice last night, day 2, helmets only. And we're running stations, and Grayson, who is a diehard Dodgers fan. So his favorite player is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts moved to the Dodgers, and now he's all in Dodgers. And he's like, oh, we just swept the Padres, and I'm kind of talking shit to him, as we're running back drills. And he's like, trying to sell me on why the Dodgers are still the best team in that division and why they're going to win the division. And I'm like, dude, hey, you sound really worried. He goes, no, I'm not. Well, I'm like, why are you trying to sell me so hard on the Dodgers? And I'm like, I know they swept them, but they're getting Tatis back. They got Soto. They got Hader. Like, hey, it could get a little scary for you. And he's just, I could see the wheels spinning. He's just like trying to figure this out. Like, are we still in good position? Are we the best team in the NL West? I was just kind of screwing with him. But you're right. Dodgers, Yankees. It's not just because before this trade, and I'm not like eliminating any of the other great teams in the game, but for me, it's Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, and now Padres. I think those are the 4 teams that are the 4 elite teams in the game, and I guess you got to throw Houston in there too. But it's hard not to put them at or near the top. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very top heavy. And if you're not in that upper echelon, any fan of a team that's not in that upper echelon is well within their right to say, I want my team to be as good as these teams. That's well within your right, because if you're not in that 5 or 6, it's like the EPL. It's the NBA playoffs in 2000 from 2000 to 2010. Like, exactly how this is gonna play out. Again, I could be wrong. I mean, the Braves make me eat shit every time I say stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I'm not a homer. I'm not obviously we know you're diehard Cubs, and the Cubs are my team too. I bleed Cubby blue, but I'm a realist, and I'm just trying to oversee everything, and what does my gut tell me just as a baseball fan. And I just like Grayson was at practice. I bet when that trade happened, I bet people were ripping their hat off, just like, I can't I can't believe Soto just ended up in our division. Like now it gets a little scary. And like I said before, Tatis is coming back too. I mean, that's a serious dude along with Soto. It gets a little weird. It gets a little weird for the Dodgers.
Those Dodgers-Padres games, like the games in L.A.
they're dangerous.
With the San Diego fans showing
that's
up
a
in the
dangerous
Soto
game.
jerseys are going to be, man.
Yeah.
The fight videos that will be coming from those parking lots. And don't be, nobody listening to this is an asshole in those parking lots, I would imagine. I would hope so. But don't be getting into fights at baseball games. That's
No, and
that's
you see it all the
slam
time.
dunk.
I mean, there was a fight. I saw a fight in the stands in Boston. I don't know if it was on one of our accounts or whatever, but you just see too many fights. Talking a little bit of shit is fine and giving each other the business, but man, just stop throwing hands.
Is it funny from your
Stop
experience
throwing
as a
hands.
player to be like, why do these fans care so much to fight? Like, it's one thing if like, well, you're drilling our guy and we're out here protecting. Like, is it kind of funny to be like, like people care so much about this game? Isn't that kind of stupid?
No, I understand it. I understand it. It's a nice release for people. Most people in this country work extremely hard to earn a living, and they love to go to games and support their team, and they feel part of it, and they are part of it. But like when you're saying, you drilled one of our guys, and we got to drill one of yours, and then things start to kind of pop off in the stands. You're not on the field kind of in the trenches with the players. Like, you're not getting drilled, or you're not having to protect one of the players. So maybe fans are listening to me like, hey, man, no, we are part of it. And I understand that. But, there's kids in the stands and profanities flying and people are throwing shit at each other. It's just not what you want to – it's not the environment you want to have in place for the youth that are giant fans of the game. It just kind of ruins the moment for me when I see – people pushing and shoving and throwing fists at each other. And then I look next to the group where this is going on, and there's a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid or a family of 5 trying to enjoy the game. It screws it up,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that said, keep your eyes peeled. Padres and Dodgers fans will be beating the shit out of each other in short order.
They will. It's going to happen.
At a higher level than
no
they
matter
already
what
do,
we
so.
say, no matter what we try. We're trying to keep the peace here. That's all we're trying to do. But man, when the suds fly, yeah, I mean, you get a little loose, and then you think that right hook looks way better than it does, and next thing you know, you're tumbling down the stairs into an usher's Achilles, maybe taking out an old lady and a 7-year-old girl. Then it looks really, really bad, and you got to explain yourself at work the next day, or whatever the case is. It never turns out well. Even if you land a nice shot and you feel like you got the best of a dude, it doesn't end well.
Not worth it.
Not
worth it, guys.
Not worth it, man.
Especially if you find a great deal on Game Time, why not just enjoy the game? Why not just take advantage of these low ticket prices and enjoy a great baseball game? And when I talk about Game Time, we're talking about the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. It's a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. Game Time cracked the code on how to score deals on last-minute tickets. Obviously, you guys know that I love using Game Time to get in the 300 level at Wrigley Field and sit in the first row. That's my favorite spot to sit at Wrigley Field. You can get tickets $12 for Cubs games. We're going to get to the Cubs. We're going to get to the Cubs. Your team, whoever you guys just traded for, go see your new player in person and get the hookup from Game Time. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy. The best part, you get $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app, go to the account tab to create a login, and redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We got some other trade deadlines and players, obviously Soto being the big news. It's worth me just casually mentioning, I think Josh Bell's going to have a huge NLC. He'll be like the NLCS MVP, and there will be people being like, oh, yeah, that's right. He was in the Juan Soto trade. Keep your eyes peeled for Josh Bell. I want to talk for a second about the Cubs
he's a dark
stuff.
horse there. He's a dark horse there. I think I gave up his first career home run, it may or may not been off me. And there's just something about Josh Bell that I always struggled against him. Always struggled against him. He went to the opposite field very well. He hit the elevated heater up and away better
Dude,
than
he
most.
shit
better
on
than
you.
most-
I'm sorry.
Oh no. I'm telling you, I got no shame in it. He was one of the rare, like Corey Seager, like he could handle the elevated fastball up and away. Like not many left-handed, because they got that kind of down swing, right? But him, Corey Seager, those guys handle that ball up, and for whatever reason, he just had my number. Did he hit his first career homer off me? Am I correct on that? Whether it was his first, he had a few.
It was like his first career hit off you.
Okay, I thought it was. A homer.
I mean, listen,
it felt like a homer.
we hit 2 off you.
How many at bats?
I mean, not
When you have like 30 at
20,
bats,
26 at bats,
probably had 10
424
hits.
on base.
what do you have? 10 hits. Off me?
7 hits, 7 walks. Jake, you were a little
I was a
erratic when
piece of
Josh
shit.
Bell got in the box.
Yeah. I just whatever it was, command your shit better. You know, it's on me. It's my fault. It's in the past though. But you're right. Like this guy can do some damage. He can do some damage. I like Josh Bell.
I want to point out that an observation I just had there. I want to share this with the audience that you would think that if a player gets walked, it's like, we walk that guy. You probably, if you walk somebody, it's not because they're a good hitter. You walk somebody because you lost rhythm, and it's not because you were pitching around or you were trying to execute something and you were willing to miss as opposed to executing the pitch. You walk somebody because you lost your touch for a second.
Very, very seldom was I pitching around guys in situations in order to not make a mistake and get popped for for slugging percentage in a close game and give up a 2-run double. There were times where I pitched careful to to Joey Votto or to Juan Soto. That's a smart thing to do. But never was I intentionally trying to walk somebody. Unless you got the 4 and you put the guy on base, which there were times where that happened. I look at the manager like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is when they would make that decision for you without like at least like some sort of verbal or nonverbal communication. Like, hey, what do you think here? Or having the pitching coach come out, let's talk about it. I guess if you're a first year guy or a young starting pitcher, a young reliever, those are things that the manager takes into his own hands and it makes a decision without even consoling the pitcher. But hey, man, like, I'm at this point in my career, at least let's have the conversation. Or maybe my shit just was that bad that day. He's like, you know what, fuck it. I'm not even going to give him the opportunity to have a say in this. We're putting the guy on base.
To be funny, it's like, yeah, we're sitting there talking to the bench coach, like, should we put this guy on? It's like, we probably should, but if we put this guy on, then he's going to be pissed, and then he's going to be worse against the next guy. So it's like, it's not the true percentages that maybe the numbers dictate. Maybe it is.
Well, and one guy that they're probably never doing this with is a guy named Jacob deGrom. I wanted to talk to Colin about it real quick. He made a season debut last night. We got a text from you, Colin, saying that you missed this guy, and you sent a picture or a video of one of the nastiest down and in sliders you can possibly throw. And I told you that will not get hit. I promise you. So how? And it was a casual, 5 innings, 1 run, 6 punchies, no walks. I mean, just vintage deGrom. Gave up a couple hits. How'd you feel about his performance last night?
Yeah, like you said, vintage deGrom. Pleasure to watch the guy anytime on the mound. Unfortunately, it was another typical wasted deGrom start, though. The offensive bats went completely dead. But we got him back. That's all that matters. He looked good. He looks healthy. We got to keep him down the stretch here. It's just a pleasure to watch him on the mound, honestly. Like, there's no one better that could do it right now, and it's just with ease. He comes off, he's throwing 102. It's scaring me a little bit, but it's like, it's just
doesn't it
unreal to
look
watch him.
easy? How easy does it look? And we had the conversation in the show yesterday, or it might have been the day before, but there's not violence in there. And, to me, Scherzer's delivery has more violence in it, which is fine. It works for him. Biomechanically, deGrom just has the ability to go out there and he's like breezing through his delivery, and it's just fucking flying out of his hand. So
Yeah,
I
one of
think
my favorite things. Sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, no. Well, I just think it's just natural for him.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to watch this year, obviously, we just saw DeGrom's first start, but we've seen it with Bassett and Walker, is the Scherzer influence of having these guys throw a curveball first pitch rather than a fastball. And we even saw that with DeGrom last night. Like, these guys are always coming in, throwing 99, throwing 100 in there. And Scherzer's telling them, you know what? No, just drop a curveball in there first pitch, and watch no one have any clue what's happening. So I thought that was pretty cool to see.
If you've got the ability to, to dump a nice, a sharp curveball in there for a first pitch strike, I mean, that just changes things for hitters, because no one wants to swing at spin early in the count like that. And if you have the type of stuff, or even close to the type of stuff that deGrom has in the command, I mean, you just totally take over the at bat, and it's just there's almost nothing you can do if you get that type of pitch, first pitch. Now you got to deal with the changeup and the 102 mile an hour, fastball. It's like, all right, man, appreciate it.
Yeah, congratulations on getting back one of the best pitchers of his lifetime. It must be nice to be a Mets fan. Must be nice.
I mean, hey, we wanted your Cubbies. We wanted to show them what a ring is like this decade, and your management held out on us.
Oh man, Colin, I know you too well to take that personally. So
No, no, I meant this decade. This
yeah,
decade.
I know. Yeah, this is one of these things I'm trying to figure out what to do now, because as the host of Starting Nine, and this is a national show, and we should have a big, broad, balanced discussion, and who really cares about my own personal fandom, right? Like, I do very much love the Cubs. That's the basis of why why I'm here and doing a baseball show in the first place. I was disappointed last night that the Cubs didn't make a move, but it's not from a standpoint of like I want to get rid of these players or anything. It's almost nothing to do with the players. You think there's stakeholders in this, of the ownership in the front office and the people that want to build institutional success. And then there's stakeholders with the players and the coaching staff, and the coaching staff wanting to have, career security, and players want to play with each other and want to be a part of something. And baseball, more than other sports, is very cognizant of legacy and the narrative, and kind of like what you leave the game. Like, you want to leave it in a better place than when you got into the game, which is something that baseball players will say that football players will never fucking say. And that guys in basketball are so goddamn selfish that they don't think about the sport like that. And there's something about baseball where it's like, no, I care about the sport. And I'm giving this long-winded thing because it's I've tried to wrap my head around, like, why does this matter so much to me? Why do I care so much that the Cubs should have done something to make themselves better in the long run, and they didn't do it? Now, whether they could do it or they couldn't do it or something happened, the fact is they didn't do it. They didn't do anything.
The simple answer for me, and I think this is probably the situation, is that teams were just asking, or the Cubs were just asking too much for Contreras, and potentially, Ian Happ. And not that Ian Happ isn't a really good player, but I think the price tag was just potentially too high for Contreras, and they felt like if I don't know. That's really all. That's really, I think, the only answer there, or else they would have unloaded him. It is frustrating to see that they couldn't get rid of him. Maybe they should have asked for a little bit less, because the Cubs aren't winning anything this year. So maybe you come off of your asking price. Yeah, well, maybe you come off of your asking price just a little bit. Right, instead of getting 10, you're getting full asking price. Maybe you get 80%. Maybe you get 90%. That still could potentially that's still going to make your team better, because you're not keeping Contreras unless do you think there's a chance that they sign him to a long-term deal, or they're able to do that? Maybe
If they sign him
maybe
to a
they change their
long-term
mind.
deal, Yeah, but if they sign him to a long-term deal, it will not be because of baseball strategy. It'll be because of fan relations and the ownership perception. It will not
I don't
be.
think so. I don't think so.
Because I sincerely believe that Wilson Contreras is one of the most talented catchers in baseball. I also think
Fact.
catcher is one of those positions where you can still find a significant competitive advantage. Where, like, okay, Pete Alonso's the first baseman for the Mets, and Freddie Freeman's the first baseman for the Dodgers, and those guys both mash, right? You do that, let's go to third base. Let's go to short. Catcher is one of the catcher, second base, center field, one of those positions where if you get a really dynamic offensive player, you can completely change like the tune of your lineup. And so Wilson Contreras is that person. There aren't a lot of them. And the fact that the Cubs can't accept that is not a priority right now for that organization is some dynamic 30-year-old catcher that can put a team over the top. You need other people around a player like Wilson Contreras. It's a disservice to Wilson Contreras' competitive nature to even pretend that they're going to put this guy in a position to play well. And now it becomes just a business thing where it's like, well, we'll pay you what you're worth. And they won't. The Cubs aren't going to go. The Cubs are going to do everything they can to get a discount on a guy that they weren't willing to sell at a discount. And it's backwards logic.
It's like maybe they're a little jaded. It's like they've had all these really, really good players, and they just let one go after another. And I don't know. Are the Ricketts still kind of? And I know Jed Hoyer no GM wants to, run a losing team. And there's things that are going behind the scenes where I guarantee you, they feel like they're moving in the right direction. Every team probably feels like that. There could be a couple teams out there where they know they're just, chasing a carrot that they'll never catch. But could the Ricketts potentially just be still sitting on that World Series and still just, collecting checks and happy that they're making a bunch of money and they're filling the bleachers and, they're making $4 or $5 million per gate, which is incredible. I mean, that's on average. Like they're making $4 to $5 million per game, and it's probably higher than that now. So they're making money hand over fist.
TV network.
The TV deals are phenomenal. They got a ring. I mean, that seemed like 10 years ago now. That was a long time ago. So I don't know. And seeing the players that have come into Chicago and done what they've done and now are in other uniforms or now retired, it's just it never surprises me to see them let great players go. As sad as that is.
Yeah. And I should balance my disappointment with I'll give Jed credit because he absolutely knew that this would be the reaction if those guys didn't get moved. Like, Jed doesn't give a fuck. I could say everything I want to say about Jed Hoyer, and the only thing Jed Hoyer is doing is what Jed Hoyer thinks he should be doing. And so whether moving Contreras is the right decision or not will be told as time plays out. But it takes balls to do that, I think. And so credit to Jed Hoyer. I personally am exhausted with what are we going to do with Contreras? We extend him, we sign him, and now they just lumped Ian. I wasn't even talking about Ian Happ at the trade deadline. I never once threw Ian Happ's name in a trade deadline rebuild. Like, we got to get rid of him to get some more guys in. It was a convenience. Maybe they do it. But the fact they were, like, hugging each other and they had made it clear that he was shopping around, they basically, like, threw a farewell party for these guys at Wrigley Field like a week ago, and they're going to be here on Friday. It's going to be so awkward.
And I think Contreras,
the human.
Contreras took down picked the Cubs photos like on his Instagram, and then I think he put them back up. It's just a weird, but it's an emotional thing. It's like, okay, I'm getting traded. Like, I'm pulling these pictures off, and then I'm still a Cub. Gotta throw them back up. Yeah, that's a little weird. But just imagine. It's not going to get better anytime soon for the Cubs. If they were without Happ and Contreras, like, what does next season look like?
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be doing a lot of PR, like a lot of Like their media rounds will be coming, and no one really challenges the Cubs here locally, and no one's going to challenge them, period. And if you're a Cubs fan, I think you just have to accept the reality of the transparency we get now and how much things have changed over the last decade or so. When Theo got hired, he came in his first press conference, outlined exactly what he was going to do, and then he went out and he started doing it, and Theo was so good at communicating that. And now, not just with the Cubs, but with everybody, it's just like the White Sox. Like, oh, yeah, we tried to trade for Juan Soto. Shut the fuck up. And sorry, that's my first hard F today. I've been really working on the curse jar, guys. But seriously, White Sox, shut the fuck up. You didn't try and do shit. You didn't do shit. You never wanted to do shit. And now you're going to go stand in front of the very small minority of fans that in this city declare loyalty to you, and you're going to lie to them again for like the 5th year in a row, and it's just the same old bullshit. And guess what? There's fucking a dozen other teams that can stand right behind them for the same shit, and it's just, I just am utterly exhausted trying to figure out, what are you doing? Why are you telling me this? Who cares? Like, why? Oh, did you hear so-and-so went on 670 today and said all this stuff? And then you're walking around talking to your buddies like, dude, did you think this is going to happen? Like, no, I'm so jaded from following this and thinking that I could make sense of it. And
well, they didn't do anything.
This, it just sucks.
Yeah. The White Sox didn't do anything. I mean, Cleveland, they didn't really do anything either, did they? I mean, Minnesota got Lopez, they got the closer from Baltimore, but you know, the Central just, yeah, kind of nothing. Crickets, really.
And on the Brewers point and the Orioles, if I'm going to tip my cap to any other teams outside of the Padres, it's these guys, because the Orioles are still going to try and compete and get in that wild card, but they were smart enough to understand that Lopez was a starter last year, is lightning in a bottle right now as a closer, that he isn't a lights-out closer unless they give him the opportunity to close. It's not like they went out and signed him or that they had developed him as a closer. It's like, holy shit, this guy's an awesome closer. Let's fucking go get some stuff for him right now. Like, let's go move him now. They went out, they did that. They moved Mancini. People are obviously, how are you going to compete without Mancini? They got better in the long term.
Well, how are they going to compete with?
Back.
People would ask, how are they going to compete with the roster that they had? And they're competing. And look, when's the last time the Orioles were, they're 2 games over 500 at this point in the season? I mean, maybe it's happened. I don't think it's been a while. I mean, they're fighting. They're right in there, and they're not gonna stop fighting. That's for damn sure.
Brandon Hyde has got dogs in that clubhouse, man. Brandon Hyde
it starts with him. I mean, he's a hard-nosed dude, and he wants to win. He's been a part of winning before, and he wants to bring that, to Baltimore. And to do that in the AL East with a team like the Baltimore Orioles, I mean, you got to give him a ton of credit.
Yep. And to the Mancini thing, it's like they moved the left field fence back 30 whatever, and his slugging's down, the homers are down. It's like maybe the Orioles looked at it and were like, hey, for the last 50 games, like, we can get comparable. Somebody's making this decision, and my point is I give the Orioles credit for making these hard decisions and bettering themselves in the long run and constantly thinking about the long run. And the Brewers, the fact that Brewers got better in the long run over the trade deadline and the Cubs didn't is insane to me. Like, the Brewers did more to win a division championship over the next 5 to 7 years than the Cubs did. And the Cubs are rebuilding, and the Brewers are presently chasing said division championship. Lucky.
Do you remember when's the last time you saw a first-place team unload a guy like Hader, or even a position player in a position where they're in first place in the division? Like that, very shocking. And look, there's some extremely smart guys in front offices. They know what they're doing, but I mean that was wild to see. But then again, you evaluate the trade, and like we talked about on past shows, like it seems like a pretty damn good deal for both sides, even though most just looking at it quickly, you think, well, how the hell could you give up a guy like Hader? And you get into it a little bit deeper, and it seems like, okay, all right, these guys knew what they were doing. They brought in a guy like Rogers. They got Lamed. They got a couple other arms. This could be a pretty damn good trade. But to see it happen, on a first place team, it was a little bit of a head scratcher at first.
Surprising, and that's a good segue to another surprising part of the show, and let's just get into the Jordan Montgomery interview, because we do get into like the trade stuff and people moving around. This is also really interesting, obviously, as we talked at the top of the show, like the human element. Like we're talking to this guy probably 15 minutes before he gets a call from his agent, or maybe at the end of the interview. I think there was like a moment where he looked up and was like, it could be somebody from the Yankees being like, hey, we got a wrap. But there were a lot of things where now I'm gonna go back and listen. It's like Yankees this, Yankees this, Yankees this, and it's kind of funny to think about how much we're gonna get this guy talking about the Yankees. He ain't a Yankee, fellas. He's a St. Louis Cardinal.
Yeah, I'm sure it's an emotional time for him. You could just kind of hear it in his voice and the passion that he has for for that organization. Came up with the team, drafted by him. Fortunate to be around. One of the questions I want to ask him, like, what was it like to meet all these guys, these heroes, and these legends, these Yankee legends? And he rattled off, how many names, 10, 15 names, and talking about the old timers game, and like we mentioned before, the Pettit and the CC Sabathia relationships. Yeah, I'm sure it's tough for him, but he's a professional, he's a country boy. He's going to go to St. Louis, strap it up, and be ready to perform for the Cardinals, no doubt about it.
Jordan Montgomery, guys. Nice boy. Nice SEC Gamecock. Let's get to the interview.
Hey, hold on. You're in the equipment room. Is that where you're at? I was going to say, I know that's not your locker.
We got so many analytic people and
everybody running
around with their heads cut off right now. So it's probably the only quiet place I could get.
I got you.
Well, cool. Yeah, thanks again for good time for us today. God, sweet. Yankees clubhouse. Let's do this. All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Yankees starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery. Jordan, thank you so much for joining the show. As we record this, we are still in the midst of the trade deadline. How are things in the New York clubhouse?
Things are good. I mean, we just acquired Montas and Trevino, and we got Benintendi, and we got that guy from Chicago Cubs that's supposed to be a stud. So we're pretty excited about the reinforcements we got.
Yeah, you're gonna like the guy from the Cubs a lot. Would just be my general take from watching him come up. But your depth, man. I mean, as a guy in the rotation, what's your kind of perspective on the depth that the Yankees are bringing in for you?
We got another solid arm, so I feel like we're a solid five now. Can go out there, and every day we're out there, we got a chance to win.
Yeah, with Severino kind of being hit with another injury, that's obviously tough. But you bring in a guy like Montas, that's a huge pickup for you. And Carl and I were having this conversation yesterday. I was kind of explaining to him what it's like as players during the trade deadline. Whether you're buying or selling. I just remember all the dudes like on the phone, on trade rumors, kind of trying to track and see what's going on. And, we're kind of in that same boat as a fan, because we're not in those meetings. We're not talking to the front office as much as people might expect. So like, is that kind of how the situation was for you guys in the clubhouse, where guys kind of talking back and forth on the phone, seeing what's going on, and then like when the news hit, like it comes from the internet sometimes and not always from the front office?
Oh, it's internet first for sure. I mean, everyone knows we're making a deal. The Yankees are always in it. I feel like very rarely the Yankees are sellers. So kind of just, you hear rumors and then you're just all over Twitter looking for different possibilities, and then the ball drops and it happens. So unfortunately, that's got kind of sometimes how guys find out they're officially traded before their agent can even tell them, or anybody can tell them, because Twitter happens so fast. But it's definitely exciting when you're getting help.
Yeah.
You've spent your entire career with the Yankees, and it's obviously the reputation that comes with that from the outside, we'd expect it. Now, your perspective on the inside, are things pretty tight will you get kind of like, is there a guy walking around the clubhouse who's, like maybe he's folding T-shirts and he's like, hey, I overheard Cashman on the phone in the conference room, like, Monty, your name's getting thrown around, or is it just airtight and they come in, they're like, hey, Montas is on the team?
It's airtight. You kind of just, I mean, your agents usually have an idea if you're on the block or not. So you kind of just got to trust them, and whatever happens, happens.
Where you guys are at in the division, obviously, I'm sure you feel this way. You guys are winning that division. Hands down, there's no doubt in my mind. And credit to you guys for being able to kind of separate yourself and provide yourself that type of lead. Have you guys had any conversations yet? I know it's still early, but how to manage certain guys' workloads or pitch counts? Sometimes that happens in September. I'm sure you've been a part of it. But have there been any conversations with pitching coaches or the staff on trying to limit guys' innings yet? Or is that something that you envision happening once September rolls around?
They haven't really said anything to us yet, but they've kind of been doing it all year. Mixing in a 6-man rotation every now and then. Getting Garrett, skipping an off day, so he kind of can be our workhorse sometimes. They've been really limiting our pitch, how many pitches we throw out there, especially from the beginning. Kind of eased us into it with like 3-inning start, a 4-inning start, a 4-inning start. Our first 5 starts were basically spring training. So I'm sure they'll do something like that. Maybe go with a 6-man rotation, bring somebody up, or just keep limiting how many pitches we throw. But they're usually pretty good about that.
And you're up. No, I was just gonna say you're obviously a workhorse. You're a big dude, and I know that just like I did in starting pitchers, they take pride in their preparation and conditioning, making sure we're able to go out there and make. I know you've currently made 21 starts, I believe it is. What does it mean to you to go out there every single day, take the ball, give your team exactly what you need? Because we're only out there 1 out of every 5 days. So are there things you do in preparation that help set you up for that endurance, that stamina that might be a little bit different, like something somebody might not know about you within your preparation? Or are you just, you get your conditioning, you do your shoulder work, you do your training, you throw your pin? Is it similar to what most guys do, or is there anything in there that's unique to what you like to do?
It's pretty similar. I die with my routine. I do the same thing every 5 days on a certain day. Never skip a lift, never skip an arm care. I think I might have missed 1 manual with a trainer on my certain day.
Nothing wrong with that.
Do sauna, cold tub every day. Yeah, a little deload week. But like you said, I take pride in throwing every 5 days, being dependable. Knowing the coaches don't care if it's an 11 o'clock game or whenever, they know I'm going to be ready. And just I want to throw as many innings as possible and 34 plus playoff starts. So that's my goal every year, is to make every start and eat as many innings as I can, and the rest of the results.
And you said you're a sauna and cold tub guy, right? Now, are there some guys in the clubhouse? I'm sure there are. Every team's got them that are terrified of the cold tub. And if so, do you mess with them? Like, hey man, like get your ass in the cold tub. Like
Carpenter's soft. He won't get in the cold tub. He was in the hot tub the other day when I was in there talking to me about it. I'm like,
you
you
gotta dunk in. You can't just put the feet in and ease yourself in. You got to go shoulders all the way under. No. That's the way I like to do it.
If you don't get in there first, it's going to be miserable.
Absolutely. Got to go for it.
This is a big sauna, steam, kind of cold tub, basically body rejuvenation.
Yeah, I'm sitting right in front of mine.
Huge advocates.
You got to have it, Carl.
So And I'm curious, like I keep going back to this, your experiences with the Yankees, and the reason I'm so interested is just how, to me, the Yankees are just different. Like there are obviously other teams that compete in a big market and spend money, but like the Dallas Cowboys are the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL because they're the Dallas Cowboys. I think that's as easy to say. It's the same thing with the Lakers and obviously with the Yankees. And so from a personal experience, being an SEC guy, South Carolina, like you got to have buddies in the big leagues, right? Like you got your buddies from different teams and stuff.
Oh yeah. My catcher in college made it to the big leagues. He's been up and down with the Diamondbacks. My second baseman for a little bit, I think he's with the Reds, up and down. And then I played with a guy that's pitching for the Pirates right now, in Will Crow. So there, and I guess Christian Walker with the Diamondbacks too. But there's and Jackie I didn't play with, and Witt I didn't play with, but I got to know them pretty well.
Sure. So there's this standard of excellence from South Carolina within the conference. It's like embedded in your DNA. So I'm curious, like in the off season, when you guys are like hunting or fishing, or you guys get together, just have like a couple beers, or the girls get together for dinner and stuff, like, do you carry that with you everywhere you go, that you're the New York Yankee in the group? Like that, does that mean something different to you away from baseball? Like how deep does the Yankee thing go?
I wouldn't say I carry that with me. In my hometown, I'm from Sumter, South Carolina, where Bobby Richardson is from also. So the whole town kind of ate that up when I got drafted by the Yankees and ended up making my debut. But when I'm around my guys, it's usually just we're kind of not even baseball players anymore. It's back to college days.
What's it like for you? You came up with the Yankees, and the Yankees obviously have some of the most historic and iconic players of all time. So throughout spring training and throughout the season, you guys have all these legends kind of in and out of the clubhouse, and I'm sure you've gotten used to it by now. But when you first got there, or what was your kind of like just like a wow moment for you when someone walked through the door, or you got to shake somebody's hand, whether it was early in your career or now? Because I'm sure it happens all the time. But how cool is that for you to kind of get those experiences that, and I played on some great teams, but probably haven't got to meet half the kind of Hall of Famers and All-Stars that you get to. So who are some of the guys you've got to meet that you really appreciated? And was there ever a moment where you were in awe of who you got to, spend some time with?
Oh, absolutely. First thing coming to being a Yankee, and CC immediately takes me under his wing. He's like a big brother to me now, so I wouldn't say I'm in awe of him anymore, but I appreciate everything he's done for me, still does for me. He's awesome. I still think it's wild. I get texts from Andy Pettit more times than not after games I pitch. If I have a bad one, he says, "Hey, they got lucky. Get them next time," or something like that. Or if I throw good, he tells me what he saw I did well. Got to meet Luke Gator, Ron Guidry. I got to meet Whitey Ford on Old Timers Day in 2017. Old Timers Day is special when they're allowed in the clubhouse and you can see everybody and kind of mingle and meet. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to do that in the last two years because of COVID. But yeah, those are probably the big names that have been like, wow, like this is it. Like this is the kind of lineage that gets passed down, like Andy to CC, CC to me, and kind of just learning from them.
Are you able to find privacy at this point in your career in New York?
Yeah, I stand out. I don't really stand out that much. If I'm at dinner, maybe my fiance will hear people rumbling or whatever, but it's not bad. I mean, I don't ride the subway anymore or any of that, but
well, there's so much going on in New York. It's probably a little
yeah,
easier
I just blend in.
Kinda, to lay low.
But the World Series like if you guys don't win a World Series, the reaction generally, I mean, whether you like it or not, is going to be, 2022 didn't turn out the way many Yankee fans wanted to. So I just want, like, how does that dynamic play with you? Like, hey, you're going out to get groceries or something like that. Is it easy to turn that off? Because, I mean, my point here is it's I know you haven't played for anybody else, but it ain't like that everywhere else,
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's World Series a bust here for sure. And it's a roller coaster. If you, the fans don't really care if you've thrown a certain amount of games good in a row. If you have a bad one, you're dead to them. I mean, sometimes I don't go out in public if I've had 2 bad in a row so far, and I don't really like going out and doing much just in case, because you never know what you're going to run into.
That
here.
sort of accountability, does that keep you on your toes as a player? Do you like that? Does the team? Do you guys kind of get energized by it, knowing kind of the pushback or harsh criticism you're going to get from your fans? I mean, we're used to that, but obviously it's way different in New York. But do you see that kind of manifest itself amongst players in a way where, like, I don't want to hear from the fans in a negative way, so I'm going to go out there and do everything I can to where I don't hear it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely pushes me to be better. Getting booed off the mound is like the worst feeling in the world. So when you get out there in the next 5 days, it's like, that ain't happening again.
when's the last time that happened to you?
Was it Sunday?
Hey, there are going to be times like that, man. There are going to be times like that.
Yeah.
I got to know. We obviously we go to a lot of team dinners, as I'm sure you guys do. Who is the last guy to reach? Who's the last guy that wants to pay? And who's the first guy? Is there a guy that's always kind of slipping it to the server, like before anybody has an opportunity? I know it's not Rizzo.
We'll do card roulette a good amount of times.
Explain.
I think
Well,
I heard
explain to
Rizzo
people
saying,
that for our listeners that don't understand what that means. What's credit card roulette?
you take a hat, fill it with credit cards, and whoever the waiter or waitress has to just pick a card, and whoever she picks or they pick,
He's got to pay.
is paying.
Has a rookie ever gotten stuck with that,
Yeah.
or a young guy who was kind of sweating it a little bit?
Usually they don't make the rookies put cards in. One dinner I went to, they made me pick, and I picked Neil Walker's card. And he was he gave me crap about it. He was like the lowest earner at the table. It was like Stanton and CC and everybody, and he's like, come on.
So is the attitude at these dinners kind of just free for all? Like when I went on vacation as a little kid, my dad would say, hey, play big or stay home. We're on vacation, whatever you want. You want to get the surfing. So you go there, you just let loose, right? Like seafood towers and the wine, or how?
Yeah, I'm sure Jake's been to a lot of dinners and hosted a lot of these dinners. They're called show dinners usually. Yeah, for a reason. It's incredible. Nothing's off the table on the menu. It's usually when I go out with Garrett will get the nicest wine available or something. It's nothing I'm used to from South Carolina.
Yeah, you would typically let one of the older guys like handle the wine menu, kind of deal with that. You can everybody can order their own drinks or whatever, but if you've got like a young dude who's ordering like bottles of Screaming Eagle, then then we might have to have a conversation about that, because that's like a $7,000 bottle of wine at a restaurant. But yeah, I mean, drink whatever you want. Just typically hand the wine list to one of the older guys and let him take care of that.
And as a rookie or a young guy, just don't order anything too crazy. Be respectful and just say thank you. And then whenever you're in their position, it's your job to pay.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it is.
And what I would love is if a young guy would stand up and kind of do a toast, something meaningful. Yeah. That always stood out to me when a guy was kind of willing to put himself out there and say something nice about the team and the boys. It just that's the kind of stuff really helps the vibe amongst the clubhouse. So I love seeing that.
Yeah, but if you're trying to establish yourself in the big leagues, you just get called up. You're like in your first month or two. those show dinners have to be like a little awkward or unsettling. Like, man, am I one of the guys, or is this just like a thing right now? Is this just like a phase, or do you not think like that?
Nah, usually the older guys make you like just so comfortable. I mean, here that was my case. Like CC did the order. He would order all the appetizers and everything, so it wasn't even like up to me to be in that position to do anything. And then he would just say, get whatever you want. But yeah, usually they're pretty good about it.
We were out in L.A. together for the All-Star game. Jake and I were, and got access red carpet event. Tons of Yankees in town. Obviously, you guys have a great season, and it was so cool. Towards the end of the night, after we finished the red carpet stuff, they've kind of got a breakout room, table service, and Travis Scott's playing a small show, a couple hundred people, 200-300 people, and there's players from all over the league, right? And certain guys are in their own different groups. You've got the National League relievers, like young guys, were hanging out in the back drinking Coors Light. There were a couple like NBA players, and they had their own big posse and entourage, and everybody was just rolling so deep. And then in the center of the room, there's a table, and all the Yankees are sitting together. Trevino, Cortez, Stanton, Judge, like the boys are just together. And this isn't really much of a question as much as I just want to communicate like how cool I thought that was, that in this extremely like big social environment, like the Yankees, you guys just kind of stuck together and kind of like did your own thing. Is that kind of like the vibe that comes out of that clubhouse? Like you guys are, it's just like it's just those guys together. Like, does that surprise you hearing that?
Nah, I mean, I feel like you put any group of us together in a situation like that, it's going to be the same scenario. We're a pretty close team, and we enjoy being in the clubhouse together. Everyone gets here pretty early. I've got a FIFA match to watch. I think Higgy and Judge are playing FIFA here in a little bit. So I might get a game in. But yeah, I mean, we kind of just hang out and then go out there and win, and then
Is that the big
again.
game in the clubhouse? Because several years ago in Chicago, we played a ton of FIFA. Downer Navarro, Darwin Barney, a bunch of guys. Just they'd play 2-3 hours before the game. Loved it. I'd mess around and play just because I like to hang with the boys. I was terrible.
Yeah.
So some teams like to play Call of Duty. Some still play Fortnite. But is FIFA the game of choice there, or do you guys kind of mix it up a little bit?
We got FIFA. We got a phone game called Stumble Guys.
Yeah,
I think we'll get a circle of that going. Those are the two big ones right now.
And who needs to like jump into the game? Who's kind of holding out like, I don't have time, or I don't like it. That I don't like playing games.
I don't know. Most of the guys play. I mean, pitchers usually have a circle of Stumble Guys. I know Marwin's really good at FIFA. Higgy's really good. Glaber's good at every video game.
I don't like that.
Maybe DJ. DJ doesn't play many video games. But
well, he can't. He's an LSU guy. You gotta plug something in to play a video game. He's like, well, I don't do that. I just hit fastballs.
Yeah, just rake.
I say this jokingly, but like, is there a fine if you break a controller? And not really like more broad scale. Like, what is that fine or like relationship like with the Yankees? I'll tell you from a source that I have close to your team. Actually, somebody on your team has told me that the Yankees front office or ownership, not ownership, but like the Yankees have people in charge of like, I notice I'm on your Instagram page, you got a great beard in the off season, but you are as clean shaven as like as like a little 10-year-old boy right now.
Yeah.
Like what is that enforcement like when you're showing up to the ballpark knowing that there's this standard of like, well, you're a Yankee, this means you have to look this way, act this way, whatever. Like how much is that enforced in the clubhouse?
I mean, guys will just kind of mess around with you. Be like, hey, you ever heard of a razor? You might want to like follow them. Like, you might need one. But honestly, sometimes if you go out there with a little bit of too much, you'll just get a warning. Like one of the like Hal or somebody or Wendy Steinbrenner might have been watching, and just be like, hey, number so and so.
What's
needs to
considered
shave,
too
and
much?
they'll
Is
send
like a
it
5 o'clock shadow too much, or a little longer stubble? What's considered too much?
I try and I shave on my bullpen day, and then ride it out till after my game, and then I'll shave on my
Okay,
bullpen
that's
day.
fair.
That's my schedule I got
Yeah,
going.
I mean,
But so I have like a little bit, but not
yeah,
too
I
much.
I couldn't imagine having to shave every day. So I like your skit. I like the once every 5 days. That's a good move.
Get it
What about
right until it gets to start turning a
Sure,
little too
sure.
dark, and then it's keep it rolling.
99? Somebody coming to 99 going, hey, we know we just did it again, but those sideburns ain't cutting it today, Judge. That's got to be a tough combo.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever had that issue. He's just such a great Yankee. He's got it figured out.
Is he as nice as we spent some time with him in L.A.? I was like, nobody's that nice, nobody's that cool.
Yeah, nah, it's real. He's great. He's been the same dude since I played with him in Double A and Triple A. So, it's been great. Been his teammate for like 9 years now. It's crazy.
It seems like
flies.
it's hard to be impressed with anything he does anymore, just because that's the kind of guy he is. But same deal with Stan. And you guys have so many great players. And this is probably not a question you can really answer. But do you have a favorite guy in your lineup you like to watch hit? I mean, is it Judge or Stanton, or is it somebody else with their approach? I mean,
I think those are the easy answers of like Judge, Stan, but DJ is just such a professional. His swing is like perfect. Like he just hits everything the other way, and he'll pull one every now and then, but like he's just gonna hit every game. You know he's gonna go out there and get probably at least 2 hits most of the time. It's like, oh, okay, well he left a fastball down the middle. Here's a line drive up the middle, RBI. Like he's just
will you ever
dependable.
go down in the cages pregame or early in the day, say on a bullpen day, and just kind of sit and watch the hitters and watch the routine, watch their hitting drills? Because guys are different. They like front toss. They like to get the machine. They like a live arm. Is there a guy's hitting routine pregame that you really admire? Or is there something unique that one of the guys does that's different from everybody else that you've seen?
I've walked through and saw Glaber doing some work. I like Glaber's swing a lot too. And he's just working on like just shooting the right gap, shooting the right gap, shooting the right gap. And it shows in his swing in the games. It's crazy. When he's going backside, he's such a good player, and he's still got pull power.
Well, it seems like when guys try and have that approach of opposite field, and as a pitcher, what hitters would tell me, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have power to the opposite gap. And if you spin something or you miss middle in, that's when they kind of launch stuff to the pull side. And I think that's what the best hitters do. They're trying to take velocity to the opposite gap. And if you miss, they'll turn on you and hit the ball in the left field seats. And you're right. That's exactly what Glaber's swing looks like from afar. So it's kind of interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah, he definitely works hard, and it shows. I mean, he's been hitting the ball really good lately.
What's your relationship with with the pitching coach? Do you like to have in-depth conversations? Do you like to be chirped at during your bullpen? Or do you just like, hey man, let me know if I'm off, go ahead and say something. But otherwise, just kind of be there as an extra set of eyes and maybe chime in when necessary? Or do you like a lot of information, or basically as little as possible, depending on how you feel?
I don't like a lot of information. I mean, every game I'm going to go out there and do the same thing. I mean,
I'm glad to hear you say that.
Scouting report. I don't know how your scouting reports were, but almost every scouting report for me is the same. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to throw sinkers. I'm going to throw change ups. I'm going to throw four seamers up and in. Like, I like it when Matt kind of, if I get out of my mechanics a little bit, kind of tells me my head's leaking a little bit, or just work a little slower or a little faster. Most of the time is what I need to actually do. But when I'm on the mound, bullpen or game, I kind of just black out and it's like work mode. Don't remember what I actually did, and then I'm done. So usually, if he could chirp me a little bit to get me a little more fired up, that'd be nice too.
Well, it's refreshing to hear you say that because we were pretty much on the same page. We would get packets, about this thick of all this information, and
Yeah.
And you're right, man. I told Carl, we've had this conversation. It didn't matter who was in the lineup. You just pencil in a hitter, whether it's left hand or right hand. I'm throwing sinkers away. I'm gonna throw something at his hands. I'm gonna spin the ball beneath the strike zone. I might elevate once in at bat, and I'm gonna change speeds with the changeup. Like, it didn't matter who was in there. There might be a situation where you got a guy like Trout or Chris Bryant or JD Martinez, a guy who can really scoop like a changeup that's glove side. But other than that, man, like if the cutter's in the right spot, the sinker's in the right spot, it's going to play to anybody.
Yep. Just tell me what they hit better, changeup or curveball, or if they're aggressive, and that's all I need to know. And then our catchers are so prepared. Usually I don't shake unless I feel like I'm not throwing enough fastballs. Keep it super simple. That's what Larry Rothschild told me 100 million times my first 2 years is keep it simple, stupid. So
one of the great names in professional baseball, a lot of people overlook it. Larry Rothschild has been doing it forever, man. That's awesome to hear it. Thank you for sneaking that name in. I have one last question for you. This is serious, actually sentimental question, Jordan. Baseball to me is a very special game because a lot of guys get out and get a chance to play it up until late, like 17, 18, whether it's D3, 2, and it brings out like just a different type of bond from other sports that I think is unique. And I'm curious now that you are an established New York Yankee, when you go to bed at night, wherever you do for the rest of your life, like you're a New York Yankee. And for our audience and guys that love baseball, played at the high school level, like, are there things still in your life, you're playing with the Yankees on your team, where you can look back and be like, dude, it's still kind of just like high school. It's still kind of just like it's still just kind of like the all-star team, like the guys hanging out. Like, is there anything still going on in your life where you look back, you're like, doesn't matter what level I'm at, the game is still the game?
Absolutely. The speed, the competition might have picked up a little bit, but it's still kind of like going out there with your boys and playing a game. I mean, high school, my best friend was my shortstop. Memory of winning state with him is probably one of my top memories in my life. College, going to the World Series, playing with my guys, playing here in the playoffs, and just kind of goofing off with all these people playing a game. You take it for granted, and I did before I had TJ, and then I was away from everybody and kind of doing my own thing during rehab, and you don't realize how much you miss it or love it. It's easy to be like, oh, it's just my job. Like, I don't actually love it anymore. But once it's taken away from you, it's like, dang, that was what I was meant to do. So I definitely don't take it for granted being a Yankee or being at this level and kind of having this opportunity. So,
well, Jordan, hey man, really appreciate you joining the show with us today. Don't want to take up any more of your time. Good luck to you and the rest of the team against the Mariners, and early congratulations on winning the AL East.
Yeah, appreciate you. Hey, Jonathan Holder told me to say thank you again for that motorcycle.
Hell yeah, man. He's one of your boys, huh?
That's my guy. He's gonna be a groomsman in my
love
wedding.
To hear it. I'll shoot him a text right now.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, right, he's brother. A dude. Appreciate y'all.
Is that dog walking the ring down the aisle?
He might. I don't know if he's allowed at the church, but
that's Jordan Montgomery, St. Louis Cardinal. You wouldn't tell it from that conversation. Is that hopefully not the first stage of like the starting nine curse, where if you come on the show, like they're like, oh, he talked to Carl at Barstool? Get this guy out of here. Go send him to St. Louis.
No, I just think it's, that one of those pre-trade deadline, shows where things are going to happen. And it's exciting for us. It's exciting for players. And, the last couple of shows we've done, it's like our phones are blowing up with trade after trade after trade. It gives us a lot of cool shit to talk about, things that were very surprising. frustrating time for certain teams and an extremely exciting time for other fan bases and other teams. So it's an emotional roller coaster that will never end. So I think some of our best shows and the most exciting shows are going to be, this time of year.
Yeah, I think we should try and make this a trade deadline thing where every trade deadline we try and interview a guy who ends up getting traded, but at the time of the interview he doesn't know that he's getting traded. We need to get the inside sources. This is where we have a year to build relationships with front offices to get to be like, okay, so who's your list of secret trades?
I think we could do that, or just kind of put our heads together and say, okay, these guys, there's rumors about these guys. We got to go after them. We got to get them on the show, and try and do that for our audience, because I think we could probably make that happen. We got a year to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in, and I'm saying this word repeatedly on this episode because the trade deadline is bringing it out of me, but I am interested in humanizing front offices throughout the course of the show. Like a guy like Scott, just using him as an example, I'm a big fan of Scotty Harris. He was the assistant GM for the Cubs. He's our age. He was hired when he was 26, wonder boy, to go work under Theo. And he just won every year. They just gave him a little bit more responsibility. And then one year he walked into Theo's office and was like, hey, I just took a job with the Giants as a GM. And no one saw it coming. And then he goes over to the Giants and he's building this thing up, and he's just like a young hustler. And I've hung out with this. You wouldn't know that he's a GM. But if people on the outside would be like, oh, this guy's probably sitting around playing with the computers and a weirdo and all this stuff, just a regular, beer drinking, normal guy.
Yeah. Just very intelligent.
I don't know if people
smarter than us.
Yeah. 12. There's another thing I wanted to talk about that's a little sad. And that's Joey Gallo's exit kind of expose in New York as he's leaving the Yankees. He's going out to the Dodgers. A lot of teams that didn't make a move are mad looking at this deal because the Dodgers gave up their 15th prospect, and now they get to take a flyer on Joey Gallo, getting a change of scenery, and it's well established he hated playing in New York now. And it's one of the saddest exchanges you can hear. It's hard to feel, no offense, hard to feel bad for you guys because, it's you guys are playing baseball and making good money and stuff.
Did he hate playing in New York just because he didn't perform well? I mean, that's
bro.
What other way do you? How else do you talk about that?
One of the heaviest quotes I've seen from a professional athlete, and it's something to the effect of, it's so bad in New York that almost every other team that has come into New York this season, someone from that team has made a point to say, don't worry about these asshole fans. But to personally go to reach out to Joey Gallo and be like, dude, whatever's going on, don't worry about these guys. Yankees coming, or Red Sox come in town, someone from the Red Sox is talking. Orioles, White Sox, it's the opposing players are sympathizing with him mid-game with how much shit Yankees fans talk to him.
Yeah, they're rough. They are rough. Maybe there is a line that there is a line that certain people will cross, and we know that Yankees fans can be brutal on opposing players and even their own players. And I think we fail to kind of remember the human element of this. We're just, players aren't just, robots and names plugged into a computer. They have families, they have kids, wives, kids, brother, sister, just like everybody else. So it's tough just because we're, guys make a lot of money and they're out there, they're in the spotlight. That doesn't mean that certain things are okay and acceptable. You can talk shit. That we're not saying that, but there are lines that people can cross, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and it doesn't surprise me to hear players kind of pass along that message to the opposition, because it is real, and it can be difficult to deal with, especially when people start throwing stuff on the field and certain words or phrases are used directed at players, it's not cool. It's not cool. But I mean, Joey Gallo didn't perform all that well in that uniform, and we know what could potentially come your direction if you don't give fans what they expect you to give them in a city like New York.
Yeah, sad stuff. And good guy. Seems like a good guy. Seems like good head on his shoulders. And it's like if you had to go anywhere and go play for the Dodgers, like, hey, we're gonna take it. You get to instantly get in a World Series contention, instantly get opportunities, instantly get. You're legitimately on the other side of the country. Good luck to Joey Gallo. Say that.
Yeah, I hope he does well over there. I really do.
What else we got, bud? It's a busy ass week. So much stuff moving around. This is like the start of the new season. Everybody's like, oh, the All-Star break. It's the baseball season. We're in a completely different season now that the trade deadline's over and it's go time with the wild card.
Yeah, another sad bit of news. Obviously, the passing of Vin Scully, and we are in the process of trying to put together a show to honor Vin Scully with one guest or multiple guests that could come on and just kind of talk about some of their experiences and their stories about the iconic Scully. What is it? I think his broadcasting career was 65, 66 years, something like that, maybe a year more, a year less. I have very fond memories of Vin Scully. We can get into that a little bit deeper in our next show. But, the man lived an incredible life. We're fortunate enough to have him in our beloved sport of baseball for such a very long time. He passed away at the age of 94. He lived a long, long life. Most people don't make it that long. So as sad as it is, we're fortunate that we got to experience him and hear him for so many years, and he was able to do so many great things for the sport of baseball, and more specifically the Los Angeles Dodgers. He was a part of a lot of games that I performed in, so just very thankful to have that connection to Vin Scully, and we're definitely going to miss him.
Yeah, I admire the fact that he did. He did his entire life, 67 years, 9,000 plus broadcasts, and had immersed himself and ingrained himself in baseball lore, and didn't play past center field at Fordham University in the 40s. Was just a guy who loved the game, loved sports, loved the broadcast, loved telling stories, loved being a part of it. And at some time, everybody has to leave the game at some point. And Vin Scully loved it so much that he didn't leave the game until he was 87 years old and had put his fingerprints and his hands all over it. And that's again, if somebody loves a game, I'm a diehard Cubs fan, but my love is with the game. I'm such a weirdo about baseball, and to Vin Scully to me is a guy that you look at, you're like, he's as weird as it gets about baseball. He loves it so much, and that's why he was able to do it for so long. He's the perfect example of people say, don't do something to chase a paycheck. Do it because you like it and you love it. And you can't ever get to the level a guy like Vin Scully got to, chasing a paycheck. The only way you can get there is actually being like, you know what, I'm going to do what I actually want to do. And that's Vin Scully, man. Heavy stuff. I fucking...
Yeah, and Vin, he was sharp up until, his very last game, and that just kind of gives you an insight of just how much he loved the game of baseball, and it was it was from For Love of the Game, but one of my favorite quotes from Vin Scully was from that movie when Kevin Costner, when Billy Chappell threw the whether it was a perfect game or a no hitter. He said, the cathedral that is Yankee Stadium, tonight belongs to a chapel. Just that's a Vin Scully quote. And I know it's from a movie, but it wouldn't surprise me if he came up with that all on his own.
Dude, he's... I wouldn't be surprised if he ad-libbed it. I wouldn't be surprised if they said, Vin, just call this the way you would call it, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of get that story. Maybe we could get somebody like Kevin Costner on here.
We got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean,
you think he's still got
time.
it? You think he can? You think he could still sling it a little bit, or do you think he's?
Man, I mean, yeah, you watch him in Yellowstone. Yeah, I think he could. I think he could still move a little bit. He rides a horse pretty well. You gotta have some athleticism to ride a stallion. You know what I mean? I haven't. You ever ridden a horse?
I did in third grade. I got kicked off on a trail, a family trip down to the Missouri Ozarks, and then my dad got thrown off. And it's like a funny inside joke with my dad and I. We're like, we're out on horses, and then my older brother stayed on his horse, finished the trail. We went back. I'm like, I'm not getting back on that horse. So you bring up like, have I ridden a horse one time? And it is like one of the. It's like a tier 1 inside joke with me and the boys in the family about horses. I respect the animals. I think it's the most majestic, beautiful creature. I think, obviously dogs won, but the relationship and bonds people have with horses is special. It very much is a special bond.
You made a great point, and it's kind of my main argument or talking point to people when I tell them why I don't really want to ride horses all that much is because I just respect them too much for what they are, for their beauty and their size and their strength. I just know what they're capable of, and I know there are horses that will attach to humans and have that relationship kind of like a dog. But I respect them too much, and I would never stand behind one. I fed a bunch of horses at friends' ranches with carrots, and almost lost several fingers. I mean, the power. So I'm good. I'm good. I'll stay. Yeah, I mean, just the teeth on these fucking animals is just exceptional. So yeah, I'll stay on the other side of the fence. I'll feed them carrots. That's as far as I'll go.
I love what you're saying about just like respect. Like who am I?
Who am I to get on a horse? Yeah, you're right. Even though they can
put on those saddle
withstand
shoes
it. Yeah, I love. I watch Yellowstone. I don't know if you watch Yellowstone. I love the look of it. The Western wear, the beautiful leather saddle, the spurs, the boots, the firearm on the hip, and you're just kind of just galloping through the prairie, whatever. But I'll let the cowboys do that. I'll hang back.
Well said, man. From an urban Texan, like you are a true Texan, but you've got that city boy to you.
Yeah,
and
I'm an
plays
urban
well. It's a
cowboy.
good mix, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I best of both worlds. I'm an outdoorsman. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a cowboy, but I like the backcountry. I like to get outdoors. I like my firearms, as you know. But I'll avoid the horses. I like longhorns. We'll probably have some longhorns on the property, but I'm not going to ride those.
No, a longhorn on the property. I'm trying to get a backyard for my dog. That's where.
Okay.
So just like similar, but a little bit different. Okay, last thing. Guys, we have shirts in the store. That is part of our, if you're a Padres fan, go check out the Juan Soto merch. If you are a fan of a team and you are like, "Ooh, why doesn't Barstool sell stuff for my team?" Reach out to me. My DMs are open on Twitter. This is a serious thing. If you guys like, hey, you guys should do an Indian shirt or fucking Guardians. Why do I pick, of all the teams, I pick them and then I use the wrong name? Like whatever. Just don't be afraid to be collaborative. Check out Bombs Away. I keep bringing this up. Whether you guys realize this or not, Penn National owns Barstool Sports. And this is not going anywhere. This is going to become part of it. Like, Bombs Away is a thing. We're going to be doing it. When the playoffs come around, we're going to have more. Like, this is just part of the show. It's going to become a bigger part of the show. So become familiar with it. It's on the exclusives tab of the Barstool Sportsbook app, which if it's live in your state, I can't recommend it enough. We're up. We're hot. We got momentum. And again, finally, subscribe to our stuff and send it to some friends. The best thing you can do, if you like the show, if you like what we're bringing, just text it to a buddy and say, check it out whenever.
Absolutely, man. Great show. I got to board a flight to Chicago. Going to head up there, playing a member guest. But, like you said, the Soto merch, it's great. I wish I had one to wear up to Chicago right now. I think the team's going to get them out to me pretty quickly. But really cool merch. Go on there, check it out. And, guys, don't forget, like and subscribe to the show. And we appreciate all you guys tuning in with us, being a part of the ride. Hope everybody enjoyed this one, enjoyed the trade deadline. Hopefully your teams made moves that you like. And if you're a Cubs fan, I'm sorry.
If you're a Cubs fan, go listen to Redline Radio. I'll have some like in-depth insight that is, we'll just say a little bit more of an appropriate platform for me to voice my my thoughts right now. It's tough, man. I shouldn't care as much as I do. I should not.
Well, you're passionate. You're a passionate fan. That's all right, man. That's all right. Things will turn around. But great show, man.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this. Yeah, this one was. Fuck it, I'll just say it. This was like a weird thing. I'm trying to figure this out because I know I'm a fucking passionate fan, and it's like I don't want to just sit here and fanboy and yell. I want to be good. I want to know what I want to be helpful and insightful. But yeah, today's show sucks because all I'm thinking about is how mad I am, and that's not cool. So we'll bounce back next week. We'll have some good stuff, guys. Thanks for riding along with this. And don't be nervous about your member guests because I got news for you, buddy. I got big news for you. Just so you know, every time like anybody's asked about that member guest, the first thing they're going to be is like, oh, did you hear Jake played in it? And they're going to go, how'd he play?
Yeah, I shot a 76.
But nobody's going to ask how – they're not going to say, how'd you play? They're going to say, I was at the member guest.
Everybody's going to want to know.
And he shot this.
Well, and just if any of the members are watching the show, I haven't played in 3 months, but that could be a scary proposition for everybody involved in the member guest because you know how golf works. You kind of forget your bad habits, even though I have a lot, and some of them are extremely difficult to forget. But the key is just to swing easy. I don't know how to do that, and don't sway. Don't sway and swing easy. I'll be fine.
Pretend that your chin has a chain and that chain is attached to your ball sack. That's a piece of advice from Trent from Foreplay.
Chin.
I use it.
Chain, chin, sack. Chain, chin, sack. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
Like when you stand over, your chin and your balls are one and the same. If
and
your
then
chin
left
goes,
shoulder,
your balls go. But
left shoulder underneath the chin, and then just make the move. Make the move. Be athletic.
Use the big muscles. Use your shoulders,
right,
your backs, your butt.
I got it. I'm gonna
Shaft
be late.
lean.
I'm gonna be late.
Spine angle.
I love you so much. We gotta end the show.
We gotta go.
Late. You're gonna make me late.
Good luck, buddy.
Love you.
Love you too.